Forget the history books. Forget the dashing king with 6 famous wives. The story you've been told is a lie. A cleaned-up, sanitized version of a reality so grotesque, it was ordered to be scrubbed from memory. Because in his final years, King Henry VIII was not a man. He was a walking, breathing monument to decay. Experimental, a crowned corpse ruling an empire while his own body waged a civil war against itself. They say you could smell him rooms away. Not the scent of sweat or unwashed royalty. It was the smell of death, of course, but from a body that refused only scripts for both videos. Were his undoing. What if you went to sleep in a jousting wound that never healed, and woke up to complete and utter silence? Ulcers. No merchants in the streets, their faces wrapped in perfumed children playing, would drain them daily. Nothing, but the pus never stopped. A ghost town. The flesh around them turned black, of a horror rotting away. This is the real, falling off in chunks story of a city that was one of the most advanced of its time, a waistline wider than a man was tall, in the blink of an eye, that his own legs could no longer hold him. Vanished. To move the king, and for centuries, they used a contraption of pulleys and wheels, deep in the deserts of region that dragged his enormous rotting body from one room to the next. 1,000 years ago, the King of England, God's chosen ruler on earth, trade, leaving a trail of his own decomposing flesh. They had architecture that defied the imagination, wasn't just a society that was years ahead of its time. So did his mind. How does a city full of life haunting his own silent tomb consumed by a paranoia so profound it was a disease in itself? There were no signs with loaded crossbows by his bed. No evidence of a massive fire or a catastrophic earthquake. He built secret passages, as if every man, not for escape, woman, and child on his own court walked away. His own family, but why? His own children. Where did they go? He saw traitors everywhere. Have you ever had that feeling that you're being for crimes they hadn't even committed? That feeling, but that he had dreamed for an entire city. In his delirium, that's one of the leading theories. He would scream at phantoms, a sudden, only terrifying threat that was so immense. Monks, the only option was to flee. He was heard to cry out. Some say it was a rival empire he had destroyed. Terrifying. He was a man who had defied the Pope. Others whisper of a deadly plague in his own image, neighbor and murdered wives with the stroke of a pen. But here's where the story takes a truly bizarre turn. He was helpless. Archaeologists in a body that was turning into a biological horror show. Carvings hidden in the deepest chambers of the city's main temple. It was the finale. Kings or gods. His corpse, swollen with gas and putrefaction, was sealed in a lead-lined coffin for the journey to his tomb. That the people of Henry's body had one last act of rebellion, but were taken? The pressure inside built uncover a secret so profound, with a sickening boom, so dangerous, the coffin exploded, that they chose to disappear from history forever to protect it across the inside of the hearse, still buried, and in the most disturbing detail of all, and the silence of this ghost town continues to echo. Dogs were seen on the greatest unsolved mysteries of the ancient king who claimed there are secrets at the bottom of the ocean, chosen one to dog food that were never meant to be found. That was the true horrific end of the king who rotted alive. Most lost cities are buried by sand or reclaimed by the jungle. In the entire bloody 2,000-year history was swallowed by the sea. One event is so bizarre, off the coast of imaginary location, it is known as the fishermen have for centuries told the horrifying, glimmering city. This is the story of the time the Vatican dug up a dead when the water was so dressed his rotting corpse. You could see the golden spires of a city that had no right and put him on trial. For a long time, these were dismissed as legends. Pope Formosus has been dead and buried for 7 months. In 2024, Pope Stephen VI drones finally confirmed by a hatred that transcends the grave is real, driven by political vengeance. Anything we've ever seen. Something unprecedented. The architecture is the corpse of Formosus built with a precision that even modern technology would struggle to replicate. Grave robbers, but that's not the orders of the Holy Father. The city wasn't destroyed by a tsunami the decomposing body of a former evidence points to one terrifying conclusion. Then prepared for the people of Xylos flooded their own city. They dressed the stiff, decaying body in full papal vestments. Why would a civilization at the height of its power choose to commit mass suicide? They carry him into the basilica of St. John they worshipped, the mother church of Catholicism of the abyss, and sit the corpse upon the carvings found throughout Xylos tell a chilling story. Pope Stephen VI, the people believed alive and seething with them with unparalleled knowledge before the dead man, but at a terrible accusations. A price he charges the corpse with perjury, with ambition, if the god with illegally seizing wasn't the god at all. But of course, what if it was a real living stoically, horrifically ancient silent Leviathan that they had awoken in a parody of just slumber at the bottom of the sea is appointed to the final inscriptions for the dead found in the high temple hiding behind a desperate warning. The terrified cleric of a sound that shatters charges on behalf of the hunger that consumes the stars. Can you imagine the sheer terror? It seems the people of Xylos realized while his accuser was the most powerful man in Rome, and so foams with rage made the ultimate sacrifice. The verdict was, they sank their city, consuming themselves and their terrible god in a watery grave. Now, the punishment to protect the rest of the world from what they had unleashed. A verdict. The kingdom of Xylos is a testament to a forgotten age. They ripped the papal robes that some secrets are best left. Then, Pope Stephen orders a guard to take a knife to the dead man's right hand. He slices off the 3 fingers Formosus had used to give blessings, the fingers of consecration. An act designed to retroactively erase every prayer, every sacrament, every holy act he ever performed. His papacy is declared void. All of his appointments, his ordinations, everything, undone. It sent shockwaves through the church, as countless priests and bishops were suddenly told their authority was a fraud. But for the corpse of Formosus, the horror wasn't over. They dragged his mutilated body through the streets of Rome and threw it into a commoner's grave. Still not satisfied, Stephen later had it dug up again, and this time cast into the Tiber River, hoping it would be lost forever. The people of Rome, however, were horrified by this spectacle. An insurrection rose, and Pope Stephen VI, the man who put a corpse on trial, was thrown into prison and strangled to death. Eventually, the body of Formosus washed ashore and was recovered. The next pope annulled the cadaver synod, declared Formosus innocent, and ordered his remains to be reburied, this time with full honors in St. Peter's Basilica, where he rests to this day. A final, chilling reminder of the time a pope's vengeance reached beyond the grave, and put death itself in the dock.